Alright, and we're back for another painting tutorial. Today, we're painting this guy, Bastian Carthalos, the Lord Commander of the Hammers of Sigmar. The new, well, by the time you see this video, new-ish model they just released. So yeah, I'm going to paint him in the scheme that I have for all my new Stormcast. This sort of red and blue with mostly gold armor with some silver thrown in there. So let's get right into it. So I'm going to start with Mephiston Red. And this is going to be the inside of his cloak color. This paint scheme will be mostly, if not completely, not contrast paint. It'll be normal layer paint. I know I do a lot of painting with contrast paint, so if you're here just for that sort of thing, then no hard feelings. If you don't want to watch this video. But for these guys, I've found it easier to just prime them with Retributor Armor Spray, which is what I did, and then paint all the detail on him. And that way I don't have to paint the armor. I just leave it the primer color. And we'll put some Null Oil over the top of it, because of course, but for now, that's just fine. So I'm just painting the inside of the cloak first. I do this first because if I bump anything else, I can just paint over it. And since it can be tricky to get your paintbrush into the inside parts of a model like this, that's why I do it. You could do it in sub-assemblies, of course, but I'm impatient and I rarely ever use sub-assemblies. So, just get in there, and then we just have to pay attention to where the cape folds over and make sure that we get that. So it's folding over all the way up to here. Something you want to pay attention to when your model has a cape is if it's folded and you're going to do different colors on the inside and the outside, like I am here, then you want to make sure that you have consistency on the parts of the cape. All the way up to that line. There we go. And then just finish this out here. So I will let this dry, double check that we've gotten all the folds and everything that need to be this color. And then once I've done that, we'll come back and I'll do the next step. Alright, and we're back, and our red is all dry or drying. Now we're going to go on to Ushabti Bone, and that's going to be for this sort of waist cloak. I'm not sure exactly what you call that thing, but the fabric that's hanging from his waist. That's going to be this color. Again, doing this so that I can bump things and it not be the end of the world. I'm of course trying not to bump the armor at all, because I don't really want to paint back over it, and spray Retributor armor is slightly different than brush on. Once we put our wash and stuff over it, we probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference, but you know, why make a mistake if you don't have to? Here. This might require 2 coats. It's looking like it will, which is fine. We'll just let the first one dry and then do the second one. I think I'm going to do the purity seal things. I'm not sure what they're called for Stormcast, but for Space Marines, there's purity seals, and they kind of look similar, so that's what I call them. I'm going to do them in this color as well, I think. We're just going to end up washing them in a different color, so they'll be visually distinct. So just getting these last couple folds here. And then make sure to get under here. And get all this stuff down there. Careful of the red. And then all up in there. Alright. And then there's this reverse side. So I'll let this completely dry. You want to, when you're applying a second coat, you want your first coat to be completely dry when you go in for your second, because otherwise you'll tear the surface of the paint. And that will look horrible. And you won't get the coverage you're looking for. So, but yeah, I'm going to let this dry, and then we'll come back and do the blue. Alright, and we're back with our cream color drying, or dry. Oh, I just realized I missed a spot back in there, but that's okay. I cleaned up a couple spots where I bumped the red. Now we're moving on to Sotek green, which, like my last video I put out, I used Achelian green. And I said, don't worry, it says it's green, but it's blue. Same with Sotek green. It says it's green. It's absolutely blue. So this is going to be the back of the cloak color. So make sure to paint all the way up to the red line here. There we go. Smooth it out. And we might need a second coat of this to really cover over that gold primer. And so if required, we will do that. We're using this color on the edge of the cape as well. So the red is just on the inside, and this is the main color. I'm just going to do the whole rim here. Wipe it off. Spill over there. And then let's get back to this. So yeah, I'm just going to paint this cape, make sure to get all the little folds and anything that exist. Let that dry, do a second coat, and then we'll come back and probably do either some leather or maybe the silver. We'll see. Alright, we're back and we've got a good solid coat of blue there. Now we're going to go on to the leather. For that we're going to use Mournfang Brown. There's not a ton of leather on this guy, but he does have some. So first I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. So the first leather I'm going to do is the belt in here. So just get that. And the belt buckle and stuff will be silver, so that's why I'm able to be pretty messy with it in there. Get the belt itself. And he's got a pouch back here on his belt. Let's see what other leather he's got on him. Get the rest of that pouch. Alright. So then, he's got some straps on his boots here. I assume he has them on his arms as well. He does. There. There. Make sure to get the back of them. Then, oh yeah, this arm, obviously. Turns out when you paint one arm, you gotta paint the other arm as well. Okay, and then I'm gonna switch back to the bigger brush and do the handle on his axe. Hammer. One of those weapons. I suppose they're the Hammers of Sigmar, not the Axe of Sigmar, so... Alright. And I think that's all the leather. If I see some later, I will, of course, grab it with that brown and let you know. But now I will let that dry, and then we'll come back and do the silver. Alright, and we're back. And we're going to use 2 silvers in this step. First is going to be Iron Hand Steel, and then Stormhost Silver. So we're going to start with Iron Hand Steel. Not a lot to do with this color, just a little bit. On my Annihilators, I did the interior part of the hammer, that is to say not the actual striking plate. I did that in, did the strike plate in Stormhost, but I did the interior part here in a darker silver. I think it looks cool, so I'm going to do that on this guy as well. I'm sure some Annihilators will make the final list that he'll be leading, so why not? Alright. I think that's the only instance of that color on this miniature, but again, if I find some later, I'll get it and let you know. So now onto Stormhost Silver, and first things first is going to be the chainmail. Make sure I get that nice and coated. Then we're going to do these lightning bolts here. Basically, anything decorative on this guy is going to become silver. These little crests here. This Sigmar / Grungy face. And then just the details, I'm just going to kind of over highlight or overbrush or edge highlight or whatever you want to call it. Just the raised bits of this griffin / eagle / whatever it is on his shoulder. Just like that. Still got the gold coming through, but got the silver on it. And then all these details on his forearm here. I'm just looking, yeah, okay. I was just looking at some other models I've done. I wasn't sure if I had done this inlaid text in silver, but I did, so I'll do that. It's always a good idea if you're painting models for an existing army to have a couple of those existing army models around for reference, because you don't want to try to recall from memory how you painted something and then you get to the game board and they don't match. These, whatever these little decorations are. I think some of this is decoration for decoration's sake, but I think we can forgive GW. He is the Lord Commander after all. So then this Griffin whatever thing on his knee pad, we'll do the same thing that we did to his shoulder pad. And we'll get the business end here of his hammer. And just make sure to get the inlaid section in there. It would probably be fine to leave it gold, but I think personally leaving that gold in there makes it look more like I just forgot to paint it, and less like I did that on purpose, so I'm going to paint it. And then the back of the... There we go. Alright, then he's got another forearm decoration in some shape. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but there we go. Elbow decoration. We've got some more inlaid text here. We'll do that. And then make sure to get this on the back as well. And then I'm just, again, eyeballing the miniatures I've already painted to see how much silver I did on their helmets. And it appears to be not much. But I don't want to just leave it gold. He's got a lot of detail on there for it to just be gold. So I'm going to do the spikes here in silver. They match the spikes we just painted on his back there. And then this gem right in the middle, I'm going to do silver. And then I'm going to do his beard in silver. we go. I think that looks pretty good. Still giving it like a full armor vibe, but giving it some pop, I guess. These spikes here, and then these inlaid runes or words again. And then the back decoration here. Great. What else do we have? Oh yes, and then the detail on the cape. Alrighty, I think that's it though for the silver for that. So I'm going to go back to the small brush again. And specifically, if you want to know the brushes I'm using, the small one I'm using is the Citadel small layer brush. And then the bigger ones I'm using, I have two of them sitting here, but it's the new synthetic Citadel brushes, the layer medium specifically. Not really like anything specific about those exact brushes, they're just what I happen to have on the desk at the moment. And so some people like to know that information, so I figured I'd let you know. So I'm just gonna very carefully paint this detail on the cape, making sure to not run over as much as possible. And now it's just about the lines, which we'll do, and I'll probably make a couple mistakes and then I'll clean that up with the red, but regardless, I'll finish up all this cape detail, clean up any mistakes I make, and then we'll come back, and the next step, this is a really simple paint job, so the next step is going to be Null Oil probably. So we'll come back and start working on the base. Alright, so our silver's all done. Did all the detail on the cape here. Made a couple mistakes, cleaned those up. And then I decided that this hammer on his back here would be cool to match this hammer, so the middle is the Iron Hand steel, and then the two surfaces, striking surfaces there, are Stormhost silver. So now we're going to move on to the base. A little confusing way I ended the last segment was I said the next step is Null Oil, so now we're going to work on the base. What I meant by that is the next step on the miniature here, not the base, is Null Oil. So we're going to let the miniature dry, and while we're doing that, we're going to work on the base. So the first step is going to take some Sigmar brown, and we're just going to cover the base completely in this. This will cover over the primer, our gold primer, at least mostly. It will hide that shine, as well as be a nice color for our dirt. I know it's not necessarily the most intuitive thing to paint over metallic with contrast paint, and like that's it. You'd think that the shine would come through, and the shine will come through a tiny, tiny bit, but really it'll just look like some lighter shades of brown, and it will be fine. It's worked on all the miniatures I've done so far. Admittedly, they are smaller. I haven't painted a large Stormcast miniature this way yet, so if it doesn't work, we'll find out together. So I'm just going to base coat the whole base. Being careful on this kind of thing, because contrast paint is so thin, if you run your brush too quickly over some details, it will tend to flick off the end of the brush, and like if it flicked onto that surface, that cream that we painted, we'd probably have to repaint over it. So we just want to be careful with our brush control and make sure that we're not flicking any paint at our nice creamy surfaces. So I'm just going to finish this up, painting everything on the base in this color. Then that'll have to dry completely before we move on to the next stuff, but once it does, we shall. Alright, and we're back with our Sigmar brown all dry, and now we're going to use 3 colors in one step. I know, crazy. So we're going to use Skavenblight Dinge for the large tiles on the base. Then we're going to use a combination of Ulthuan Grey and Xurius Purple to do the small tiles. So I'm going to start with the big tiles. So again, that's Skavenblight Dinge. And I'm going to get my larger brush here and just start picking them out, leaving the dirt texture in this brown color, but painting the tiles with the gray. Where at all possible, I'm going to leave the brown in the cracks between the tiles, but we'll put some ink over this, so if I paint over a couple of those cracks, it won't be a big deal. This Skavenblight Dinge will require 2 coats. It's not, despite it being, I think it's a base paint, right? No, it's a layer paint. Okay. Thought it was a base paint at first, and the quality of the coverage does not reflect a base paint, but it is in fact a layer paint. So, put the pitchforks away. GW's off the hook for now. So yeah, I'm just gonna continue around the miniature here, painting in all the big pieces of tile. Just making sure that I don't miss any, because it'll stick out if any of them are left brown. And then once I do, oh, I did say we were going to use 3 colors in one step, so I can't really end this thing. That would be terrible. So yeah, I'm just going to keep going here, painting tiles. Except there are a lot to go, so we're going to go ahead and switch colors now. Just so you can see what I plan on doing. So we'll go to Ulthuan Grey next. Some top quality video planning there for you. And we're just going to paint these in a checkerboard. Alternating each tile. And then for this kind of stuff, it's just sort of up to you, where the tiles aren't right next to each other. You just get to make the decision how you want to do it. I basically just carry the pattern over as if they were right next to each other. So this is the closest tile to that, so that isn't white, this will be white. Then going up, that won't be white, this will be. That won't be. This is the closest to this, so it will be. And you just go on about the miniature here. Maybe I'll start up here this time. That'll be white. So this will be white. Up here. And so you just keep doing that around the miniature until you've painted all the tiles. And then we're going to take our Xurius Purple, and as you might have already guessed, we're going to paint the other tiles with this. So just being careful not to nick the white with this. And just go through and paint all the tiles that you haven't painted yet. So there you go. I'm going to do that now on the rest of these tiles. And then once that's all dry, we'll come back and we'll work on this thing, or this torch bearer. Well, I don't know what it is. Alright, we're back and we've got all our tiles painted up there. Now we're going to go on to the skulls. And this is flayed one flesh we're going to use. Just 2 skulls on this base, as far as I know. That's all I saw when I was going around. Wrong brush. With the bigger brush. There's probably a third. Oh, there's a third, technically a third skull right there. But not a skull made of bone. So I suppose I could paint that one like that, though. But I'm not going to. Just gonna paint these up like this. And we'll have to do a second coat on them in a second. But for now, I'm going to grab our next color, Dawnstone, and we're going to paint the smoke coming out of this pyre. I don't know what it is. Whatever this thing is, we're going to paint our smoke this color. And we're going to let that dry. And then we're going to add some fire effects to it. Don't want it to look exactly like fire. That's why we're painting it gray first, but we want it to look like maybe there's some fire underneath it or something like that. And then this pyre, I haven't actually thought what color we're going to paint it, so I think we're just going to go with Iron Hand Steel. Simple, basic, neutral silver color. For base elements like this, I don't get too wrapped up with how interesting you could make them. I'm just trying to get them done at this point and get the miniature on the board. And I think we'll probably add some tufts to this guy today. We'll see. The rest of my Stormcast have tufts on them, but the rest of the Stormcast don't have all this tile work and stuff on them either. So he's not really going to fit in with the aesthetic of them anyway. So we'll see. We shall see. Just make sure to get the rim of this here. Alright, that's good. And then we'll do another layer of flayed one flesh on the skulls. Then we'll come back and I think it'll be time for the Null Oil. Alright, we're back. And now we're going to use some Gryph-hound Orange. I said we were going to do Null Oil, but no, not yet. Soon. We're going to use some Gryph-hound Orange. And we're just going to put it down here at the base of this plume of smoke here. Just like that. And then we're going to grab some... No, not that color. Here we go. I'm going to grab some Cassandra yellow. Almost said Cassandra yellow. Grab that and just blend this orange up into the smoke. Just like that. There we go. That'll work for me. And then just cleaned off my brush, and then I'm just gonna wipe off some spots of this yellow just so we get a little more gray poking through. So it's like there's sort of a glow coming from the inside of the smoke. Nothing super fancy, just help it along a little. There we go. Alright. Now, I believe, it is time for the Null Oil. So, let's grab that. He says, unable to find his Null Oil. Alright, so as it turns out, I'm going to go find my Null Oil, and then we'll come back and do that. Alright, we're back, and we're ready for our Null Oil. I did find it. There it is. So I'm going to get a pretty wide brush here. This is a Hobby Lobby brush, I think. And I'm going to start on the base. And I'm just going to apply this over the whole thing. Just get it all in there. Make sure it's getting on everything. Get it in the silver. We don't want to get it in this flame plume that we just painted though, because that would be annoying to get all that orange and everything all over our stuff. Make sure we get the skulls and this chain here. Alright, now we can start applying it to our miniature. So I'm going to start with the cape here. I'm just going to come down in the direction of the cape. Just like this. There we go. And make sure to get the edges also. Right, then the inside of the cape here. Alright, and then we'll get this in here. All this stuff, and this undercloak, whatever it happens to be called. Maybe someone in the comments can tell me. Half cloak or half cape or who knows what. Just making sure to get it complete coverage in there. A little more Null Oil in there. Alright, and then just get it all over the rest of the miniature. The cloth parts are the most important because you just want to make sure you're going in the direction of the cloth and you're not leaving too much Null Oil pooled in the wrong places or anything like that. Get his boots here. I'll get down in here. Missed that. And the other side of his shoulder pad. All up here. Just really don't want to miss a spot here. Any spots missed are going to stick out like a sore thumb. Alright, I think that's it. Now we're just going to go back. I'm going to rinse my brush off. I'm just going to go back and pull out any spots where the Null Oil is just a little too thick and pooled a little too much. Oh, I didn't do any right here, so let's put that back in. Get it up in there. Good. Alright, and go back to just the wet brush now. Just pull it back off in any spots where it's a bit too heavy. That looks fine. Maybe a little bit right there. Down in here. Just checking for those spots. All right. Oh, we didn't get this part of the cape here. So we'll do that real quick. There we go. All right. I think we're just about good there. So we're going to let that dry completely. And then come back and see if there's any last couple steps we have to do. And then call it a day. So once that's dry, I'll be back. Alright, and we're back with everything all dry and ready to go. We're just going to do a couple of finishing touches here. I will say, some people don't like the Null Oil look to miniatures. Like, they don't like the sort of like, I don't know, washed look, I guess. But for me, I don't mind it. I'm just going for tabletop quality. But I am going to go onto the cape here and just pull some of these edges back towards the raw blue color. So I'm just back in Sotek green. And I'm just pulling the color back to the true color of the paint instead of the washed color. I'm not gonna go crazy with this. I'm just doing it on all the folds in the cape. Just to give it a little more definition. And we'll do it on these right here. And we'll just feather it out a little bit. There we go, and right down here as well. And that, and I think that looks good, just to give a couple highlights to it. And then on the front here, these two ridges right here. And then up here on the folds up here. Just like that. So I'm going to do that with the red, the Mephiston red, as well as with the Ushabti bone for the under cape there. But yeah, now I'll do that, and then now you should be seeing pictures of him all finished up. Got his base rim painted. Got those highlights I just talked about painted, and he's ready for the battlefield. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I should have another one coming pretty soon, and hopefully those dragons will release in December, and we can have some good videos on them. So again, thank you everybody for watching, and I will see you next time.